Free agency frenzy. Let's talk about it. So I was going to do the draft today. I was going to get into the weeds of the draft, the top 5 quarterbacks and blah blah blah. But completely forgot about free agency frenzy. And so that's what this video is about. I'm gonna leave all the time markers everywhere so you guys can go around and pick what you want to hear me talk about. So let's get into it. So we're gonna start with some of the retirements and just work our way down throughout the week. So Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox retired. Shout out to them guys. Jason Kelsey, slam dunk Hall of Famer. The barrier of entry for a center is a little different than a defensive lineman. Defensive linemen are just so highly valued, and the level of play is just so much higher, and you can kind of see it. You know what I mean? But Jason Kelsey was a staple of that offensive line for I don't know how long. Funny enough, on my 16th birthday, uh, the Rams in St. Louis played the Eagles, and I went to go see that game. And ironically enough, that was his first NFL start. Small world. I had no idea until I did some research about his career and everything. So, shout out to Jason Kelsey, slam dunk Hall of Famer. And we'll probably see him way more now at Chiefs games, doing his crazy dad thing. So, shout out to him. Fletcher Cox, another staple. I just don't think he had the impact that you would expect from a Hall of Fame defensive lineman. Still great in his own right, but he'll be a Ring of Honor guy, but I don't think he'll be an NFL Hall of Famer. The numbers for like a Hall of Fame, I think it's like 0.5% or something like that of all players even make the Hall of Fame. So we're talking about the tippity top of players. So shout out to Fletcher Cox, needless to say. He's an Eagles Hall of Famer for sure. So we're going to get to some of the first moves, and then we're just going to work our way down throughout the week. So we have Mac Jones, the savior, and all his glory getting traded to Jacksonville. You guys sold us on a dream that Cam Newton was going to be the guy checking my mic, in order to place this guy. And he had a good first year. I couldn't say nothing. But all the dysfunction in the organization and all that, and Mac Jones couldn't avoid the dysfunction in the organization. He needs everything to go right to be effective. He's a dirty player. It just wasn't a fit. And probably 15 years ago, Mac Jones would have been that guy. But you got to be mobile. You got to be able to move the pockets. You have to be smart up here. And like they say about our guys, does he have the mental to even play this game at a high level like that? He'll be a backup. Sam Darnold is a backup. Sam Darnold just signed with the Vikings, and we're going to get to Kirk Cousins later. But I never thought Mac Jones was the guy that they ultimately wanted him to be, especially with the level of quarterback play. That's one, in his division, and two, he just was not there. He wasn't it. You know, everybody has that it. Joe, Josh, Lamar, Pat. Mac never had that it thing. Like and to me, he just his ceiling was his floor. He was never going to be a great athlete. He was never going to be some guy that just wows you with anything that he did. But he was an okay guy. He went to New England, and we thought he was going to turn into Tom Brady, which he didn't. Not saying Cam Newton would have won them a Super Bowl, but I think they'd have been in a better position if healthy Cam Newton was there. So for them to do what they did to Cam Newton and then ultimately get rid of Mac Jones, it's like Cam should have stayed there because Cam should have been the starter there. And I think they would have been in a much better situation if Cam would have been a starter. They would have at least made the playoffs. They wouldn't have been this awful if Cam was healthy. So shout out to Mac. He'll probably be a backup the rest of his career. You know, he's still making that NFL money. Not starter material. He'll be like Sam Darnold where he floats around the league for another 10, 12 years. So the Fields trade, I know Justin Fields hasn't been traded yet, but the way the quarterback market looks, it looks like he's going to be stuck there. Now, I've always said they should have traded the pick for more assets and built around Justin Fields because I don't think Caleb is mentally, like we said about Mac Jones. I don't think Caleb is the guy that they want him to be. Like just a peek behind the hood. I was doing my research for Caleb Williams, and the comp I heard from Nick, and then I looked back on it and I looked and I confirmed it. Was Patrick Mahomes, and on NFL.com the comp is Kyler Murray, and I could see how you could comp Kyler Murray and Pat to Caleb. especially from the emotional standpoint, where Caleb's not really emotionally ready to be in this game, at least from what I've seen and what I've read and some of the things that I've seen. Do you really want him to be the CEO of your company? Um, he's wildly talented. Don't get me, he's wildly talented, but I think he's a lot rawer than people give him credit for. Now he did play in an offensive heavy system, so he didn't have a defense. But he would not have none of those weapons in Chicago. And I think you're just restarting the clock to be in this same situation in 4 years. I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be like, he's not changing their life. That's my opinion. Justin Fields is not a great thrower. Like I said, he's a poor Lamar Jackson right now. And he's in his year 3. By year 3, Lamar had an MVP. So I don't think he'll ever get to that point. But if you build an offense around him, they should have hired Greg Roman. They did not do that. And I think they're going to pay him. Justin Fields is going to be the one that catches hell for that. And he should be in Atlanta. But Atlanta decided to go with Kirk Cousins on a major, massive deal, which I just didn't understand. Culturally, it's weird. It's like another Matt Ryan situation, but Matt Ryan was really, really good. I love me some Kirk Cousins. I'm not a Kirk Cousins, I'm not a hater of Kirk Cousins. But you had a chance to get Lamar Jackson, and you picked Kirk Cousins over Lamar Jackson. You put Lamar Jackson in this division with Kyle Pitts and I can't remember the name of their running back. You put him BJ and Kyle Pitts and all the talent in Atlanta, and you don't think that they're at least winning 10, 11 games when they got to play the NFC South 6 times? It was a bad decision. It was a bad decision. I'm not mad at Kirk because I'm always for players taking the money, but Kirk Cousins, Lamar Jackson, it's just like, what are we doing here? He got Michael Vick, and Michael Vick did what Michael Vick did, and that owner said, I ain't never having another Michael Vick ever. Because you didn't get Justin Fields, and you didn't get Lamar Jackson, but you settled on a 35-year-old Kirk Cousins. It didn't make sense. But something that did make sense was Russell Wilson going to the Steelers. I thought this was going to be a perfect place for Justin Fields, but this is an even better place for Russell Wilson. He doesn't have to do nothing special. This is Seattle. Essentially, he's going back to Seattle. Running game, great defense, defensive head coach, don't make any mistakes. Russell Wilson was great. He wasn't great this year, but he threw for over 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and 98 passer rating. You'd have thought that he was Zach Wilson the way they talked about Russ. But no, they got back into the playoffs after getting absolutely bludgeoned by Miami, which that video did terribly. I don't know why you guys didn't watch that video. But he wasn't as bad as people thought he was. If he can get the job from Pitts, if he can get the job from Kenny Pickett, which I expect him to take the job from Kenny Pickett. If he can't get the job from Kenny Pickett, then we have to revisit the discussion. Is he a career backup now? And his Hall of Fame case comes into question. So, but I think Russ will get that job. They're paying him 1.2. Denver's playing the 3.37.8, and we'll see. And on the Denver end of that, is like, so when you're not successful this year, who are you going to blame? Because you can't blame Russ. He's not there. And you're not going to blame Sean Payton for whatever reason you guys love Sean Payton. I don't understand. Sean Payton hasn't done anything as a head coach that didn't have Drew Brees, and Drew Brees ultimately saved him. So, and then he tried to have Taysom Hill as his quarterback. There are a lot of things about Sean Payton that people just don't address. You know what I mean? Like, Sean Payton is not as great of a coach as people act like he is. I thought he was going to at least make them a playoff team, but he didn't. And I think they're going to utterly fail next year, and then they're going to be right. They might get the number 1 pick next year. Denver, New York. Denver and both New York teams, other than Buffalo. All 3 of them are going to be probably 1, 2, and 3 next year in the draft. And you can book that right now. I'm sticking my flag in that. Jets, Giants, Denver, 1, 2, 3 in the draft, and Tennessee might be 4 or 5. But I think that's a good signing by the Steelers. I think they should have went Justin Fields because I thought they would go younger. But if you're gonna go vet, this is the guy to go vet with. And so another great one, which is why I made this video today. Derrick Henry signs with the Ravens. We're gonna be here a minute, so I'm gonna leave the thing at the bottom so you guys can skip it if you don't want to hear me vent about the Ravens again. This is nice. Derrick Henry, 2 years, $16 million. Derrick Henry has some injury concerns, but I fully believe that those injury concerns are because they just rode him to the end. Derrick Henry, I don't know how many carries he had, but when you get that 300-yard carry mark, it starts to weigh on you. And I think this year he's going to come into the season more healthy. He's not going to have to run the ball as much. He's going to see less people in the box, I think, because people are going to be afraid of Lamar's passing. Say what you want about Lamar's passing. It's still really, really good. Now, I had somebody I was talking to earlier say Lamar's not a great passer, he's inconsistent. But then they go on to say Josh Allen is consistent when Josh Allen was the reason that they didn't have that they had to fight for the playoffs. Like that, shut up. So with Lamar's ability to pass the ball, along with Derrick Henry's ability to run, and with the offensive line, at least the interior, being pretty good, we might be. I kind of hope they don't get a first round bye, so they have to play Week 18. But you're looking at another 10-11 win season with Joe coming back, with the Steelers getting Russ, and Jameis Winston also signed with Cleveland. I don't think that's going to make a big of a difference, but with every team in the division getting better, I think they might have to go on the road and play. But they might also get another playoff game depending on how everything shakes out, right? So Baltimore just has to get the wide receiver position together. You got Zay. That's working out. Hopefully Zay can play because he had the allegations, but he beat the allegations. Hopefully you can get a big body receiver like we've been screaming at the mountaintop for the last 5 years. If we could get a big body receiver, someone made of the ilk of a Hopkins or a AJ Brown, or even I forgot his name. He won the Heisman for Alabama. He's the second receiver in Philadelphia. I'll put his name up here. Even if we can get a guy like him, who should be a number one, but he's a number two because he plays on the other side of AJ. You just have to get a number one receiver. Every other great young quarterback has a number one receiver. Literally everybody. Go get Megatron. Or not Megatron. Go get DK Metcalf. Go get somebody. But to just be like, we're just going to bludgeon teams to death and we're going to run the ball. Yeah, that makes sense. But if you're not going to run the ball in the playoffs, that don't matter. And we need better coaching. We need better coaching. I'm not sitting there saying Lamar's Tom Brady, but we need better coaching and better skill position players. We were moving in the right direction. You signed Lamar, you got Zay, you got Derrick Henry for the next 2 years, possibly 3, depending on what he does. But you got to get better at the wide receiver position. Nothing's changing until you get better at the wide receiver position. So that's really all I got on that. And so another running back that signed, or the next 2 running backs that signed, Saquon Barkley for the Eagles, 37.5, 3 years. Pretty much everything I said about Baltimore is essentially something that I would say about the Eagles, except on the defensive side. That's nice, but you got to get the defense sewed up. The reason you lost games is not because of your offense, really. It was because your defense couldn't get stops. So you need to go spend that money on defensive skill. Now, this is not a defensive channel, so I'm not really sure what they need to do on defense. But I do know they need to get more corners, and they need to be able to pressure the quarterback, because those were things that just they could not do, and they have the personnel for that. They have the personnel to get to the quarterback. They just didn't do it. They don't even have the personnel in the secondary to even fear anybody. So that's why Kyler Murray and all them were able to carve them up. So I'm assuming they're going to address it in the draft. They're probably going to draft more Georgia guys. So that remains to be seen. But Saquon Barkley is a great pickup. It makes your offense a lot more potent. Josh Jacobs signs with the Packers. So that's a really good pickup for them. Now, they ended up having to get rid of Adam Jones because they couldn't come to an agreement and the contracts broke down. Regular business stuff. Josh Jacobs, 4 years, $48 million. You get a certified running back there with your young guy, Jordan Love, and kind of like what Derrick Henry for Baltimore is kind of what Josh Jacobs is going to be for the Patriots, or not for the Patriots, for the Packers. So another great pickup. Running backs are going really, really fast. I didn't expect running backs to come off the board this fast. It's crazy how fast they're coming off the board. Gus Edwards, he goes with his offensive coordinator, Greg Roman. Greg Roman is there. Makes sense. Patrick Queen to the Steelers. That really doesn't make sense because I thought he was going to go to Seattle. It was reported that. I guess I looked at the wrong report. But Patrick Queen stays in the division. He goes to Seattle. Geno Stone goes to the Bengals. Who else? Tyrod Taylor is probably the second best quarterback in New York again. He goes to the Jets, and honestly, he might be able to be the starter there depending on what Aaron Rodgers does. So that remains to be seen. That definitely remains to be seen. That's a good pickup for him. Everybody knows how I feel about Tyrod Taylor. He should have been the starter. And for the Chargers, life happens. That sucks. But it's good to know that he's still getting contracts in the NFL. So I think I talked about Jameis Winston to Cleveland earlier. So we're going to revisit that right now. So Jameis Winston signed to Cleveland. I don't know why they wouldn't bring Joe Flacco back and try to run that back if Deshaun is going to be hurt again. Because I'm at the point where I'm out on Deshaun Watson. It's not even because of the allegations. It's not because of the craziness. I'm out on Deshaun Watson because I don't think he's ever going to get back to the point there where he was. I think that's it. I think that's it for Deshaun. I think this is who Deshaun is going to be for the rest of his career. He had such an electrifying start to his career. Cam Newton-ish in college. Should have won a Heisman, but he was in college with some ballers. Lamar, Pat was actually there, but Pat wasn't very good in college. He was in there with some ballers when he was in college, so he didn't win the Heisman. I'm going to fact check that, but I don't think he won a Heisman. He won a couple national championships, though. But that Deshaun is not here no more. Shout out to my Virgo brethren. Brett, everything that he went through in Houston and then the allegations and then coming to Cleveland and got that guaranteed contract, him not playing well kind of ruined guaranteed contracts for quarterbacks because everybody's looking at see, that's an outlier. He messed up on that. You know what I mean? So shout out to Deshaun. Hopefully I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong. That's why I didn't buy a Deshaun Watson jersey, and I'm waiting for him to prove to me that he earns my money. And so yeah, I don't think Deshaun is gonna be that, and Deshaun mess around and be out the league in a minute if you don't play as well. It's kind of reminding me of the Ben Simmons arc a little bit. You know what I mean? So Jameis Winston might actually get a chance to play there. So it remains to be seen. And so I think that's all I got for you guys. If anything else changes within me editing this video or anything, I'll let you know. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.